everybody, and welcome back to G Bear's Off-Grid Ways, a homestead in the desert. And yep, got another battery here to review. So, without further ado, we're going to do the unboxing. Out comes a trusty box opener, and we cut the tape. I'm always seeming that I'm cutting through the red tape. Oh, wait a minute, that's not red. All right. So let's see what we have here. And box is open, and we have the paperwork with styrofoam underneath it. And the paperwork is from GrenerPower. Okay, so we're going to be doing a review of a GrenerPower 12.8 volt 100 amp hour battery. We got the little pack with a set of bolts in it. Those are M8s. And I've been noticing lately that a lot of batteries are coming through with only one set of bolts with them. So I guess they're trying to cut back on costs due to tariffs, I guess. That would only be a guess. It's not scientific. Okay, so we can get the box out of the way. And not a very heavy battery. I'm going to get the tape cut on the sides. Nice packaging job. They really took some time to fold the plastic bag correctly and everything. Not just stuffed in the box like many others I've seen. And a little strap on there, a little nylon strap for a handle. And we'll turn it around so you can see the front of it. And there we go. 1280 watt hours. So, I will be getting this thing set up for charging. I have my charger right here. And we'll get this thing going on a charger and let it charge up. And then when it's at 100%, we'll connect it to a load with a battery monitor, and we'll see how it does for capacity test. All right. In the meantime, I'm going to pause you so you don't have to stare and watch the battery charge. It's going to take a few hours. Okay, everybody, I'm back. I got the charger connected, and I decided what I'm going to do is we're going to check the delivery voltage in this thing before I actually start charging it. And you see the charger light is not on here. It hasn't been plugged in yet. So let's see what we got. 13.14 volts. Okay, so we know that it was shipped with 13.14 volts. We're going to put the charger on now. I'm going to plug it in and get her going. We have a green light on the charger. Should go to red. There we go. And now it's charging. So let's see what we're reading with it now. 13.34. Look at how fast that jumped up, huh? All right. So we're just going to let this thing charge until the light turns green and go from there. In the meantime, I'm going to sit down with the book and see what they've made for changes on the GrenerPower battery. So hold on, I will be back. Okay, everybody, I'm back, and as you can see, the green light's on the charger, so the battery is fully charged. And you can see it up here. It says 100% on the monitor. And I set the monitor for 110 amp hours, even though this is only a 100 amp hour battery. And that's so that when it runs out, we can see what the remainder is, and we can subtract that from the 100 amp hours, and that'll tell us what we had, or we can add to it or subtract to it, whatever. We'll do the math and we'll see how many amp hours that battery actually provides. Let's see if it meets its standards of the 100 amp hours or better. It should be a few percent over that to be safe. Now, here are the stats of this battery. Okay. So our first is going to be its discharging test, and we'll see how well it does, how well it meets the numbers. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to disconnect it from everything after I do this, because it'll be discharged at that point. And I'm going to stick it in the freezer down below, which it is now resting on top of. And we'll let it sit in there for about an hour or so and get nice and cold. And I'll have my thermometer here so we can check the case to see how cold it actually is. And then we're going to see if it has cold temperature protection. So what that means is when I hook it back up to the charger should not turn on. It should stay with a green light. It shouldn't go to the red light for charging. That would tell us that it has cold weather protection for charging. Okay, so I have this set up, and I have my kilowatt meter plugged into the inverter. And this is only a 1500 watt inverter, but I don't think we're going to be going that high. What I am going to do is turn on the heat gun back there. That's not a hairdryer, that's actually a heat gun. And that's a HT1000 heat gun, so that can go up to 1200 watts. But on top of that, I've got my little electric space heater here, and we can add to that, and we can watch the meter down here and see what kind of watts we're pulling. And if I can, I'll try going over the 1500 watts, but that's not going to do us much good, because all that's going to tell us is that the inverter will shut down if it goes over its wattage. And that's not what we need to know, okay? So we're going to start the test here in a minute. First thing I want to do is, let me get this down where you can see everything. Okay, you're going to see that green light go out there in a minute, because I'm going to unplug the charger. And we'll lay the plug right there so you can see that it never gets charged back in again. All right, so we're at 100% on the battery charge on the battery monitor. And I'm going to turn on the inverter. Takes a second for it to come up. Okay. Showing 112.2 volts. Now we're going to go to watts. And we're at 0 watts. Okay. So, first to start will be the heat gun. And that's drawing 1,000 watts right now. 996, 93, 90. So let's call it 993 watts on average of what that one's pulling. Okay, so now I'm going to turn on fan. Low, medium. Oh, I hear a chirp. We went over the 1500 that the Let's get this up there as close to 1,000 as we can. And that wants to go all the way. So let's take it to low. And even that's over. Well, no, it's a 1500 watts, so we're at 1470. And it seems to be holding at that point. But I can see the voltage dropping on the battery pretty quickly there. We're already down to 12.1 volts, 98%. Oh, we'll let this run a while. I'm going to lower the heat down here a little bit. Yeah, let's see. Yes, I'm on the high setting. Make sure there's nothing flammable over there. I'm going to put this pointing upward. So it is a chilly day today, so this should help warm up the cabin a little bit. Okay, we can still see the meter. We're already down to 96%. And we are still drawing, let's see if I can get both of them in there. We're still drawing 980 or so watts. So just under 1,000 watts. That's good for a test, because the battery is supposed to give us 1,280 watt hours. So we're just under 1,000 watts, so that should be just over an hour. So I'm going to let this run, but I'm going to pause the video so it doesn't get too long. And it is now 11:42. 11:43 actually. So 11:43 a.m. and we'll see what happens when this thing goes out. I'll try to get here just before it does so that we can turn it back on and watch it go out together. Alright everybody, stand by. Alright, I'm back and this is not good. It has shut down. The battery has shut down. Not the inverter, the battery. So it went on over limit, I guess, although it shouldn't have. Let me check the time. Now it is 12:04. So it ran a good 25 minutes, somewhere in there, and then completely shut down. I've got nothing on it. So let's get the voltmeter in play here and see what's going on. In the meantime, let me shut off all of these items. And I got that shut off. Okay. So here's the voltmeter. Positive side, negative side. It's showing only 1.46 volts. That's not good. Okay. I'm going to plug the charger back in and see what happens there. Red light's on the charger. And it went to green. So the BMS shut this thing down on overload, way under what it should. Yep, it's trying to charge, and it's going on and off. And now I'm showing 61% on the battery, so it woke the battery up. Let's see what we get for a reading on voltage. We're at 13.3, 13.4, 12.9, 12.7. Okay, this thing is all over the place. That's not good. I have to say, I'm a little bit disappointed. I was hoping that this battery would be a good one. So now it's showing that I'm at 14 volts in the battery, but that's because the charger is on. The charger has finally started charging, and that's why we were jumping all over the place, because the charger was jumping in and out. So, and it's still jumping in and out. So let me disconnect the charger here and see what happens with that. Okay. That's it. Battery's dead. Well, I have to say that this is a total failure. So I'm going to charge the battery back up again and give it a second chance. Stick with me, folks. Okay, everybody. So I got the charger on. I forgot and corrected myself right after I shut the camera off. The charger won't start charging right away when the BMS has shut down the battery in protection mode. You have to let the battery sit for 15 to 30 minutes, and then you could plug it in and charge it. So right now it is charging, and I took the time while I was waiting for that to happen to do a little rewiring on the shunt. And that was, I took the battery charger negative off of the battery post up there, and I moved it down onto the inverter on the load side. So now you can see on the meter, you can see where it's showing that I'm charging at 13.4 volts and 19.8 amps, 267 watts. That's what the charger's putting in right now. But I'm not feeling too good about this battery, so we'll have to see. I'm going to take this down from here right now so you can see a better look at the battery. You don't have to look at my heat gun, right? So that should be cool enough to set down there. So we will let this charge the rest of the way up, and let me see if I can zoom in on that screen for you. So it cut off at right at around 60% or so, and I was well below the 1280 watts, or I was well below 1500 watts actually for the inverter. So the inverter didn't kick off, the battery did. The BMS shut the battery down. Now, I'm not sure if that's overheating or not, but I did go get my thermal infrared thermometer here to check anyway, and we're showing that the battery right now is 89 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, that's about the regular temperature that it is outside here, so that should be all right. But we're going to see if that battery heats up on the next load test, because I'm not real happy with what I saw on that first part of the test. I double checked all of my connections and my settings and what I was using, and shouldn't have done that, but it did. So we'll find out. I'm going to zoom back out and pause again. I'll be back. Okay, everybody, I'm back again, and we're coming up here on the end of the charge. You can see the amps dropping on the meter back there. Oop, there it goes. It's at full charge. Caught that just in time, huh? All right, well, it took almost 2 hours to charge that battery back up from 60%. And I don't know. We're going to have to run this test again and see what goes on here. Something ain't right. And it's not my connections. So anyway, we got a green light on the charger. I'm going to unplug that now. And again, we'll put that down there. All right. So there we are at 100%, showing 110 amp hours on the battery. So I'm going to turn the inverter on. And it's showing 112 volts. Go to the watts, should be 0, and it is. And we are going to begin this test again. So this time I'm going to put the unit on low, and that gives us 430 watts. And then we're going to turn on the heater onto low with the temp set all the way up, and that puts us at 900 watts. So we're going to let this run at 900 watts. That's under 1,000, so let's see how this thing holds up this time. And right here it's saying that we got about 3 hours of battery, and we're using 80.6 amps to run this. And we're down to 12.7 volts already. The volts are dropping faster than I would expect them to, but it's saying that we got 1 kilowatt of power here. So 1 hour and 23 minutes left as power in the battery. So we're down to 99% now. Only been a few minutes. So I'm going to pause again, and we'll see how long this lasts. Alright everybody, I'm back, and here we are looking at the battery. It's getting ready to finish up here. There's 9% left in it. It's saying 13 minutes before it goes out. Still using 556 watts, and it's down to 12 volts, but there's 10 amp hours left in it. Oh, down 9.9 amp hours. So it looks like it is going to end up passing the test, and it should have over 100 amp hours. It looks like it's going to actually have a good listing on there. We're at 8%. It should be kicking off pretty soon. Of course, I smell electronics here burning. It doesn't smell too good to me. So I have to figure out what that's all about. And what I did do was I turned off the heater, and I turned on fan, so it's blowing cool air on everything right now. And very quickly, let's see what we have here. The battery's only at 80 degrees, so the battery didn't heat up too badly. And the inverter's at 97 degrees, so that's a little on the warm side. That's about it. Got 97 on the heater, and it's still running. Okay, so I'm going to pause here for a minute and come back when it shuts down completely, and we'll see what the final reading is. Stand by. All right, everybody. Well, it didn't go all the way down to 0%. It's at 6%, and it has 7.1 amp hours left in the battery. So it has definitely passed the test. What happened was the inverter shut down for low voltage. So there wasn't enough voltage to run the inverter. Anyway, it has passed the test. I'm not sure what happened the first time, but we got that corrected. So that's the pass on that. I'm going to pause this video and get the battery ready to go in the freezer. We'll get it nice and cold and then see where it goes from there and see if it has cold temperature protection. Stand by. Okay, everybody, I'm back again, and the battery has been in the freezer overnight. So we're going to pull it out of here and set it up here. And as you can see, I cleaned off everything except the charger, because that's all we'll need for the cold temperature test. Now let's see what it says for the temperature of the battery. It says it's at 24.5 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so I get my stand over here, my tripod, and we'll get the camera into the tripod. There we go. Get a nice close-up here. And let's get the battery connected. Now what we're looking to see is, once the battery charger is connected, I'm going to plug it in. And we should not see a red light, because the temperature of the battery is below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So if it has cold temperature protection, that would simulate freezing temperatures outside, and your battery should not charge so it doesn't damage anything, damage the cells or anything inside the battery. All right, so here's the plug, and I'll move this back away so you can see better. This is the light we're going to be watching right there. And here we go for the plug-in. Green light. Should not turn, well, it turned red. And it turned back to green. Okay, so it does have cold temperature protection. So that's a good thing, because you don't want to charge a lithium battery when the temperature is below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. It will damage the battery permanently. So that's the final test on this battery. It's going to take a while for it to warm up, because like I said, it's been in the freezer overnight. But I'm going to let it sit out here where the temperatures are going to be a little warmer today, probably 80 degrees to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. And that battery will come back up to temperature, because once it gets above 45 degrees Fahrenheit, it will start charging. And that's what we want to see. So it's not going to stand around watching this. I'm going to close this video completely. And after the battery takes a full charge again, which will probably be sometime late this afternoon, I need to transfer water from my rain catch barrels around the cabin down to the water totes down by the garden house. And we're going to use this battery to run the pump to see how well it does running the pump. And at that time, I'll have the shunt back on it so we can watch the difference in how much power it's using. All right. Thanks for joining me, everybody. This is G Bear signing off.